everybody, it is Romania Black, and we are starting a brand new show on this channel that I have been looking forward to for over a year now. So, if you're new to my channel, my name is Romania Black. I'm a teacher, I am a speech coach. I also love anime and manga and have grown up with it, and for 5+ years now on YouTube, I have been reacting and discussing it and giving you my honest opinions and fangirling and shipping and just having a blast with the shows that I've had on this channel and talking to you all in the comments section about them, as long as you don't spoil me. So, I'm a blind reactor, and for the last year or so, people have been saying, you need to watch this show. Actually, before it was announced they were going to make an anime, they were like, you need to read this manga, which I've heard is gorgeous. But it is Witch Hat Atelier. The absolute Midwest US redneck in me want to be like, what's Witch Hat Atelier? But Atelier, I think I've pronounced that right, possibly. I'm sure other reactors have gotten it much better, but I am notoriously horrible at pronunciation. So anyway, as soon as it was announced that this is going to be an anime, I'm like, oh, that's going to be going on my poll on my Patreon. So if you are new to my channel, I do have a YouTube channel. I have almost 3,000 videos, if you can believe it, that you can scroll through and see me talking about all sorts of anime and donghua, all sorts of BL, GL, the works, and you can also comment and tell me what you think about them. But I did a poll over on my Patreon. That's usually how I choose my new shows, and it was a very close poll. The top 3 were like within votes of each other, but Witch Hat Atelier ended up winning, taking the Sunday spot on this channel. So every Sunday we are going to be watching this season and enjoying it and talking about it, and I'm going to be reacting to it and then also discussing with you all. So there will be a link down below in the description to the actual reaction. Some people are like, where's your reaction at? And I'm like, it's in the link down below, because YouTube is YouTube and we have to go around it like that. So that's what we gotta do. But real quick before we start, if you enjoy this video and you enjoy this discussion, please hype up the video, like it, comment it, help it get through the algorithm. And if you like what I do, please subscribe to the channel. I would really appreciate that. And if you really enjoy what you see and you would like to support me further, I don't get monetized by YouTube, but I do have a Patreon. And over on Patreon, you get access to videos a week before everybody else on the internet, so you get exclusive access to that. You also get access to our Discord where you can talk about it. I'm in there all the time, usually posting screenshots and stuff like that, and but just being in all of the fan art and all of that good stuff. You can join over there. But I want to give a shout out very quickly to our philanthropy tier on Patreon, because they throw me a few extra dollars each month and are super supportive, and I want to give a shout out to them. So special thanks to Alex Cornejo, to Miss Yan Rose, to Damage3245, to Be Happy, to Dana, to Daniel Devorin, Destiny Marie, as well as Diana Williams, Ichu, Eric, Fisho, Ghostly, Turnip, James, Elfreya, Poppy, Jessica Cullen, Lyndon, as well as Pancake, Murphy, Rast, Rose Jennison, Sunspots, Translucent Men, Shimoyama, Zero Anti-Zero, Nicholas, Jason, and Sean. Thank you all so much for everybody on Patreon for supporting me, and everybody on YouTube that has subscribed, liked the videos, and commented down below. All of my love. Now, how I do it is I am a blind reactor, so I go in with zero context. I react, and then I give you all my honest discussion about the episode as an English teacher would. So let's strap in, shall we? The only thing I know about the series is that they're wearing witches' hats, and it's called Witch Hat Atelier. So I looked up what Atelier is, and it is a workshop. So I'm guessing that it's like a hat maker. I instantly think of Howl's Moving Castle and Sophie making the hats. So we'll see if that's anything like what we're about to watch, but I'm so excited. I have been waiting all month to get into this series, so let's begin. We are going to start Witch Hat Atelier episode 1. The reaction will be in the link down below, and then we'll come back to discuss here in 3, 2, 1, and let's just see how we do. As an English teacher, that is a perfect pilot episode. I get it. I get why people are so in love with this already. Nope, down. Absolutely down. First episode, I was like, oh my God, yes. That's literally, it just kept ramping up this episode, and it's episode 1. We have a lot to talk about with this episode, but Kefri, Coco, the narrative, as an English teacher, I appreciated so much about this episode. I can't wait to talk with you all about it, but I'm also really excited because I know that this series had a couple of delays and people on the internet were bitching about it. They were just like, why isn't it coming out? And I was like, whenever people complain about something getting pushed back a little bit, I always want to be like, can you not be impatient for 2 seconds? Because they're probably making sure it looks as good as it can, because I've heard people say the manga is so detailed. And just from a couple of the still images, like the pop-up book effect that they had, which was executed perfectly, I was like, yeah, this seems like a very hyper-detailed manga. So they're trying to animate it well. Be patient. But oh my gosh, this episode was fantastic. I was like, yes, please. All about this. Let's go. So Keyfree is great. I think that's pronouncing his name right. Keyfree. It's like the QI. I'm like, is it Chi or is it Key? And I feel like it's Key, like Keyfree, which also, if we're talking about his character, I'm going to be making lots of guesses about his character. So Keyfree being like, which powers are the key to his freedom as a character. We're going to talk about that. First and foremost, I am a blind reactor, so I am going to be reacting every episode based on what I've seen. I do not know what is going to happen later until I see it. So I may get things wrong. I may get things not correct on the first viewing, but I ask y'all, if you are commenting down below, if you're going to be revealing things that are going to happen later on, I don't want to read those comments, so please put a spoiler tag saying, Romania, don't read spoilers, and I won't do it. But I do have a moderator that will be checking to make sure that I don't get spoiled for future events, because I would like to read your comments, and I would like to talk about how great this episode is, because it's amazing. So before we even get started with a couple things, I was asked right before I started this if I was going to do the sub versus the dub. On my channel, I am primarily a sub girl because as an English teacher, I'm all about, citing our sources, and I liked seeing the original cast, the original, sub. So I'm watching To Be Hero X on my channel right now. That is a Chinese donghua, so I'm watching it with the original Chinese voice cast and Chinese subtitles. I know the Japanese dub is really good, and I will watch it eventually on my own, but I have heard the English dub is good for this series. What I have done for series in the past, like Death Note and Steins Gate, that I'm currently watching on my channel, is that I will watch it in the Japanese sub so I can see the original translations, the original script, everything, and go from that. But in between episodes, I will go back, after I'm done talking to you all about this episode, I'm probably going to watch it in the dub. And if anything stands out, I'll take notes. And I like to recap with the dub before starting a new episode when that happens, because it helps to refresh me. And also, if I miss something the first time around when I'm talking to you all about it, I might catch it in the dub and talk about it in the intro for episode 2, for example. So that's what we're going to be doing. So sorry if you're a dub fan. I will watch the dub and I will talk about it in the intro, and we can gush about it together and say how wonderful it is, but I want to see the sub, and I'm pretty excited about the voice actor playing Keyfree because I know him from some other things. So with that in mind, before we dive into the actual episode, I did look up the two main voice actors of Coco and Keyfree. Coco's voice actress is Rina Motomura. She is really new into acting. She did an animated film in 2021, and then she was in college. She was at university, and in 2025 is actually where she really started voice acting, last year. So I'm like, oh, you are a brand new girl. So this is actually her 4th series she's done, but she is the main lead, so that's awesome. I really like that we see voice actors having a big breakout role, and she's great as Coco. Her voice acting made me very endeared to her character already, and I was like, all right, I'm super excited about this. And then Keyfree is played by Natsuki Hanai, and Natsuki Hanai has been voice acting since 2011. He has a pair of fraternal twin daughters, so that's really cool. But he started in 2011 with Bento, the series that I have seen him in voice acting. I'm going through here to see. I've heard of Samurai Flamenco, where he played some roles in that. The first series that I saw that he played a character in, though, was actually Merman in My Tub, which I have a series called Janyu Yaoi on my channel. You should go check it out. I have a whole playlist of Janyu Yaoi. Merman in My Tub was one of them. He was Mikuni in that one in 2014. But then he was in he was in Ace of the Diamond. He plays Haruichi in Ace of the Diamond. And I was like, hell yeah, he does. But since then, he's been really busy. And then in 2019, he is Tanjiro in Demon Slayer. And I was like, okay, I knew his voice. I was like, okay, I see Haruichi. He played Maki in Stars Align. I've seen seasons 1 and 2 of Demon Slayer, so Tanjiro makes sense. But I was like, where else have I heard this voice? He's been Falco in Attack on Titan. In Odd Taxi, which I watched last year, he's Otakawa, which to me, I'm like, the moment I found out he was Otakawa, I was like, oh, okay, so this guy is going to be able to play not only like fun mentor character, but also is going to be able to be dramatic. And I'm like, okay, I'm excited. And we got that in this episode already. I was like, whoo! So yeah, that, he's also Eddie in Life Lessons with Uramichi Onisan, which is really fun. And then lately he's Beam in Chainsaw Man. He's Mother Truckin' Beam. I'm like, love it. But he's been busy. He's been doing a lot since 2023. He's been in a lot of things. And speaking of To Be Hero X, he plays Lin Ling. So I'm like, so I'm so excited. And he's a Shuhei in Windbreaker Season 2. I'm seeing this guy all over the place on my channel, and I'm really excited about that. But him as Kifri, I'm like, ooh, I already know, like, I am already, as soon as I throw this to my dog, sorry, I have to lean over and grab, he wants me to throw this toy to him 3 hours a day. I kid you not. But as soon as the plot kicked in the latter part of this episode, and he got very serious with Coco, I was like, this is going to be fun. This is going to be a very interesting series indeed. So I'm going to turn the sound off. And we're going to go through this and talk about this series. I cannot tell you how excited I am, but I'm going to be pulling up some screenshots to go along with you all to just view it as I throw this toy to my dog here in 3, 2, 1. I think it would be, if I could talk about the animation all day long. I think we would be here for hours just talking about the animation. But one thing that right off the bat, the first sentence of the entire series asking, is an athlete from the day that they are born? This conversation to say, like, are you born with this like profession talent inlaid within you, or is it something that you develop? And what this series is already giving us is that it's not necessarily the talent that you have, whether you have it or not. It's going against that and saying it is about the tools that allow you to take what is inlaid within you and to make it happen in reality. And that is such an interesting point of view and perspective on talent and success. And the idea, there's so much going on with this. We're going to break it down. I'm going to be adding on to what I say as I go, so just bear with me. I'll say something and then 20 minutes later I'm going to add on something. I don't know how long this discussion will be. I have a lot to say. But I do think that there are people who are born with natural talent, right? There are people who are just naturally suited for a specific role or a specific sport or something. For example, my mother was amazing at basketball. She has natural rhythm. She has natural coordination. I have none of those things. I am terrible at basketball. And so we just, your DNA is just constructed differently, and you are a unique individual person. That's what makes you you. Nobody can be you. You are 1 in a million, 1 in a billion. So I do think that there's this idea that people are born with natural talent. However, I think that the idea, like, athleticism and rhythm and coordination are something that certain people have more, in tune in their biology than others. The same goes with, like, some people are just naturally intelligent about something. They're naturally in tuned with math or naturally in tuned with English. However, then the next sentence is like, what about an astronaut or an idol? So in those situations, sure, an idol probably has a naturally beautiful singing voice. However, they also have gone through training to do voice lessons, to figure out how to sing properly, to control like their diaphragm, their breathing, making that voice project, protecting and preserving that voice. They have taken steps to train to be exactly what they need to be with that, inner talent. Whereas an astronaut necessarily wasn't born to be an astronaut, but they wanted to be. And so they trained with the tools necessary to become one. And I think the idea, the concept of the witch and becoming the witch and using those tools is kind of more akin to the astronaut. Like, sure, you probably had to have like a certain build to be a better astronaut potential than someone else, but you also had to have the right training and be acquainted with the right tools to be able to do that job. So I think it's more in line with that, but it's such an interesting conversation to start out with. And Coco saying you can't know what you will be at birth. No! I've had lots of people who are like, my parents were both extremely athletic. And when we were little kids, my brother and I, they were like, oh, you're going to be athletes like we were. And they very quickly realized, no. Unless you want to go to all the games and watch us sit the bench, no. So I think it's so important that Coco brings that out, being like, you don't know from birth what your destiny is, what you are going to do, later on in life. You just can't know. And the animation right from the bat, and she's like, what about witches? And then we have this book. The pop-up book effect is so cool and I love it. And it's so hyper detailed. I imagine the manga is like this. And that just makes me so giddy and excited. I love that already. But yes, I'm so ready. And so we have this stream with the most judgmental white-tailed deer imaginable. But I love that there is such a reverence with Coco right off the bat. I love her green hair. Love that. She looks like she could be in Dr. Stone. Good for her. I think that Coco's character is immediately endearing because of how respectful she is. Like, she's a kid. She seems like she's, 11 or 12? That's how she reads to me. She reads to me like an 11, 12-year-old. But she's old enough to already be learning skills passed down by her mom, like with the cloth making and the cutting. But at the same time, she's still a child in that she's dreaming and ambitious and aspiring to for the future. And she wants to be a witch. But she understands how the world works. And she's trying to see, are the possibilities around that? There's a hopefulness to her that's so vibrant. And she's also has such respect and reverence for the world around her. Like, she understands the spring is magic. And that's a really good foreshadowing tool as well, because she knows the spring is magic, but yet she keeps it a secret and she respects it and she only uses it, wisely and within context. And then she lets it go and lets nature kind of reclaim its moment. Like, she used it to do the laundry and the deer standing there like, bitch, you poison in the water. And then she's like, just give it a second, it'll turn back to normal. And then it does. And the deer's like, okay. So as a writer, from the get-go, the idea that we've seen Coco and we know she can keep a secret, whenever Kiefer challenges her later on, he's like, you can't tell the secret about the witches. She's like, I won't. We as the audience know, yeah, she's not going to do that because she's already kept the secret here and no one was pressuring her. She just did it because that was the right thing to do. We understand that Coco is but she gets caught up in the magic. She gets caught up in being able to do something she's always wanted to do. And then it goes there from there. What I'm curious about is this damn lunar moth. So she sees this lunar moth, which, a lunar moth flying through, isn't that a lunar moth? I want to say lunar moth. What do they look like? Yeah, it looks similar. Similar. Not quite, but close enough. I'm like, a lunar moth throughout the day is an odd sight. Usually in the morning, super early you see them. We see them kind of like where I live, like really early in the morning, like when dawn breaks. This seems a little later in the day. So I'm wondering if the moth is a familiar for the witch that gave her the book, or if it's just a little coincidental thing that's going to be a little bookend moment later on. But it reminds her, if anything, about, the book being given to her by the witch when she was a kid. So yeah, the deer scene was great, but God, so that little scene setting up so much. Also setting up, maybe if the lunar moth is some kind of surveillance, setting up that Coco is being watched and observed as someone that the witches can trust to keep their secret, that reveres magic. It's going to be interesting to see. I have theories and things I want to say about that witch, but we're not there yet. So anyway, she's like, magic is beautiful every time I see it. It's so amazing. So we don't get an OP in this episode. We don't get an OP, which is fine. We'll probably get one next week. But she's like, the world brims with magic, an essential and handy miracle, which I love the fact that magic isn't something that just a select group of people can use. It's something that is kept contained for a reason. And so the reason why is because of how dangerous it is. And we see how that, again, this episode's writing is the perfect pilot. It's so good because it sets up our characters, it sets up Kiefer, it sets up Coco, it sets up the conflict. We have the hero's journey starting out here. It's perfectly laid out. And we establish in this first episode how dangerous that magic is in the wrong hands and when it's not treated with the utmost care. And I kind of like that magic is sort of given this symbolism to power, and that there's only certain, it's going to be a morally gray thing as we go, because Coco has grown up with the belief that people are born being witches, and that's what everyone else around the country in this story believes. They're like, oh, well, you're born to be a witch, and if you're not born to be a witch, it's just not in the cards for you. But the reality is anybody can be a witch if they have the right tools. And if they have the right tools, anyone can use that power. And it's sort of a double-edged sword, or a double-edged quill in this case, because on the one hand, awesome, Coco can be a witch, anyone can be a witch. They can have access to this miraculous power, and that's so like freeing to know. But on the other hand, Coco's respectful, kind-hearted, and reverent to what the magic is. Someone else that is not would be able to use that and do devastating things. So I am so intrigued to know about the Society of Witches, and I've already got things I want to talk about with that, but we're not there yet. So I'm automatically just entranced. The animation's gorgeous. How it works is unknown. And this episode's called The Magic That Started Everything. Yeah. So, okay. But anyway, we have this like something else about Coco too that I really love is that this is not a chosen one narrative necessarily. It's not a chosen one narrative. Coco is an ordinary girl who was raised by a dressmaker, and she stumbled by chance upon a witch as a child that gave her the book of magic and the ink that can cause it, which we're going to talk about because that is, that's something. We're going to talk about that later. But she just happens to stumble into this situation, this ordinary girl, takes it home, and for years has no clue what she even has, and then by chance stumbles, we're going to talk about Kiefer, stumbles into Kiefer, who is wanting to get wanting to get something tailored. That's right. And then it just, chance of fate, just by happenstance they meet and their worlds cross. But the way that Kiefer reacted to her story makes me think that whoever gave her the book, like they're all within the same area. Like Kiefer, whoever gave the book to Coco, they are all from a very close proximity. It's not like she traveled miles and miles away to get it. So that Regency like system with it. Also the little hat, the triangle makes like a little hat. That's fun. But she believes that not everyone can become a witch. She's like, it must be nice being able to be born a witch. And it's so interesting because it connects to our own world, where some people grow up with this concept that they will never be something because they don't have the inner ability or the natural born talent to do so. I am in firm belief that if you work hard at something and you dedicate yourself to something, will you be as good as someone that has inner natural born talent? I think you can be. Will you be better than them? Maybe not. Maybe not. I always think that I always have more respect as a coach for the team that I coach. I have more respect for someone that maybe doesn't have the natural born talent, but works really hard to get where they need to be, than someone who has the natural born talent and just kind of is like, I'll be fine. I don't have to practice. Like that to me is like a big difference. But in this scenario, what's so interesting that connects to our own world is that we see this every day. We see people that maybe did not have any natural ability, but they have the resources to be successful. Whether those resources are from wealth, whether those resources are from nepotism, whether those resources are from like manipulation or political gain. Like we see in our own world what is happening here, where certain people, part of the privileged society, the one that are in the know, have access to these tools that make them seem like they are a league above others. When the reality is those people are no better or no more talented than an everyday, ordinary person in society. They've just been given the tools that lead them to that success much easier. And if any of us that are not part of that elite group had been given those same tools, we could be in the exact same boat. And that's how Coco ends up there. So it's a really cool commentary, a social commentary already taking place within this world that in the first episode alone, I'm like, oh, we could do so much with this. Like, what's Kiefer's background? Where is he from? Who did he train under? Why does he have this very, very invested stoic view of magic? Like this, there's so much already that I have questions about, but that's such a good shot of her in that moment. But we have so much to do. So yeah, this episode sets up, and she's so instantly likable. She's like, oh, I command you to turn into a flying cloak. But magic isn't like that. It's not casting a spell. It's being able to draw, right? And being able to memorize and study and know how to create the correct spells. It seems like Coco has a photographic memory as well, because she remembers the book entirely. Which, you know what? There are people with photographic memories. So something else too that is interesting is that Kiefer notices immediately that she is very gifted when it comes to being able to vision something and translate it to her hands to enact. It makes me think of artists, of sculptors, of seamstresses, like people that they see the vision and they can transform it in front of them using their hands. They can connect that thought process to what their hands do. And she has that inborn talent, which would make her a very effective witch because of the drawing and everything else that goes with it. So I wonder if Kiefer kind of finds a connection to her that way. So something else that is interesting is that the flying carriages that are affected with magic, we find out that the flying carriages are not indicative of them being a witch, because the three women that come to try on the dresses and get all the stuff tailored, they arrive in this Pegasus carriage, but none of them are witches. They all probably just hired a witch to make the Pegasus carriage and all that be around, right? They probably just have, again, through affluence or through connections to witches, are able to kind of reap the benefits of those connections. Whereas Kiefer just seems like Kiefer has some sweet, like, rocket boots on there. We're using the magical spells that they have, so they didn't even need the carriage. But yeah, Coco is just in awe that she's seeing this magical Pegasus carriage, like a tie to that. Everything she sees, we would liken in our reality the idea of magic to like wealth or like being rich. She's like, oh my gosh, a Pegasus carriage. I can't believe I'm actually seeing one in person. Like as a kid, if you went somewhere and saw like I remember there was a hotel when I was a kid and I drove by it all the time. And the hotel had this giant chandelier, like this 25-foot chandelier hanging from the opening window. And you always saw it when you drove down the road. Now as an adult, I can see that, and there's a kind of cool connection to this episode. As an adult, I know that big chandelier, it seems so impressive as a child. And as an adult, I'm kind of like, oh yeah, it's probably a cheap chandelier. It's probably nothing crazy, right? It's a durian, But as a kid, I thought it was impressive because to me, that was like a status symbol. It was like, oh, that's a world that I'm not part of, right? I could very well be a part of that world anytime I want. I can go stay at that hotel anytime I want. But as a kid, you don't have access to those things. So they seem much out of reach, more so than they are as an adult. For Coco, she sees the carriage, the Pegasus carriage, and she's like, oh, that's a world of magic. That's a world I can never access and I don't have the ability to be a part of. It's so crazy and cool. Whereas when the mom's just downstairs helping these women find dresses and she's like, oh yeah, it's a Pegasus carriage. Like as an adult, she kind of sees through the veil and understands that this magic isn't something that's necessarily inaccessible, but that it's just part of a different world than what she lives in. And she's already accepted that. Whereas Coco, longs to be part of that too. Also, the fact that this girl has had this magic book and pen just lying around in her house, this book that could cause all this crazy stuff, and she's just had it lying around all these years and nobody's touched it. I feel like the magic books, we're going to talk about the witch, but the idea that you were just handing them out to anybody on the street, I would imagine the books and the pen are like, you don't just give them to people, because luckily Coco was a kid and she didn't put two and two together until she figured out that the wand was a pen. But if you'd given them to an adult and they started using them, that's kind of crazy. So yeah, we're going to get back to that. But yeah, the moment that Keyfree shows up, the fact that he is a witch should have been very obvious. I like that the top half here of his cloak looks like a cuff, which is cool. Him with the black underneath. We can do a lot with that. I'm a sucker for a tall, skinny man with blue eyes. So I was instantly like, okay, all right, you have me, Keyfree. You have me, Keyfree. If you've watched Jujutsu Kaisen, he looks a little bit like Gojo. I'm not opposed to it. It's fine. I like his little monocle. The little top part here looks like a bird beak, which is kind of cute. And I like it. The fact that one of his eyes are covered and that little monocle is blacked out makes me think that maybe he's blind in that eye. He can only see out of one eye, perhaps. My question is, as we do with most Donghua and things like that, was he born with the white hair, or did magic make it white? Because his eyebrows are not white, his eyebrows are dark. So is the white hair natural? Did a spell cause it to age or something? He has a very owl vibe to him. He has a little, the little beak bridge on the monocle makes him look like an owl, which is kind of cute. He's like, oh, it's just me standing by the door. So what did he want? She's like, I can't believe it. Yeah. Oh, them blue eyes. Lee Hao-lin would be having a field day with this design. So yeah, who'd have thought you'd be in a place like this? So also these girls be like, isn't this embroidery a bit dated? It's like, well, how about you be a little nicer, ma'am? So you won't believe I found Harian lace. So basically the mom runs out. She runs a dressmaking store and has all these different fabrics. And she's like, the year people came in the Pegasus carriage. And so she asks, he's like, oh, I'm not with them. He's like, oh, no, I travel alone. But I'm curious why he was there. I guess he was just getting some fabrics. She's like, do you have more lace? And then we see the mom. So I like that the mom and Coco have the same eyes, which is a nice little connection. We find out that Coco's dad died. He got sick and died. We don't know any more than that. I hope the mom is just trapped in this quartz and is not, gonna die. And so he's like, okay. And they're like, what can we help you with? And he says, I'm looking for some smoke-colored fabric. I'm like, is he gonna make more undershirts? So he just wanted some fabric. Okay, by happenstance, he ran into Coco, was just there for some fabric. As she's looking around, she's like, oh, okay, I can come back if you're busy. And she's like, I'll cut it for you. And he's like, wow. He's really good with kids, too. Immediately, he is just really super nice to her. And then Coco's like, I just want to see the carriage. After I look, I won't say I want to be a witch anymore. And the mom's like, fine. She's like, I don't believe you. She's like, you're going to keep wanting to be a witch, but sure. And then this moment here where she was sketching out the smoke fabric and getting it made. I guess the smoke fabric, it's not black. I'm thinking charcoal. It's more like for the outside of his jacket. This part here reminded me a lot of Frieren Beyond Journey's End. If you've not seen Frieren, you should. The vibe of this series is very similar too, which I appreciate because I like Frieren an awful lot. But yeah, just her. And this here is also, again, talking about how perfect this pilot is. It's such good foreshadowing for her being able to draw. She has the precision and the vision to line everything up perfectly. And that comes back when she's drawing the drawings. And it's like, and I love that when she draws the drawings, we're going to see it, but they're not perfect at first. She figures out the tracing element rather quickly, but they're not perfect at first. They're still kind of a little wobbly. And it just, This first opening part is so well written. I love it. And yeah, and then she cuts it. Girl, there is no better feeling than when like you're cutting wrapping paper and it just slides through. That's one of the best texture feelings in the world. And she's like, absolutely. And I like that Kiefer is looking at it like, okay, this is extremely well done. You've got great concentration and steady hands. No hesitation in the line. It's a careful and precise finish. I had no idea this village had such a skilled craftsman. He's really good with kids, like I said. Like, because he doesn't treat her like a child. He acknowledges her ability and treats her like a young adult and is honest with her, which is really nice. I really like Kiefer already. I'm like, yes, all of this, please. More of this, more of him. I have theories, and if my theories are correct, I am going to be one very happy reactor on this channel, indeed. We're going to talk about it in a little bit. But yeah, he's like, this is real magic. And that line now, in hindsight, is so big because, you know, the whole time we've been thinking that there are, you know, witches that use magic and they're born with this like magical ability to cast spells. And so when he says this is real magic, what I love about it is he's like, you have a real talent. Like, you're not relying upon a book and spells and magical ink to do something incredible. You have the ability within you to naturally create something that not many others can do. Like, this is real magic. Artists doing real magic, sculptors doing real magic, writers doing real magic, like the abilities that are within us as people that we often take for granted or don't even consider to be special. I love that Kiefer just says like the books and stuff, garbage. This, the real stuff. Yes. And she's like, oh no, it's nothing like that at all. Magic is more mysterious and sparkly and valuable and pretty. And it's something that's more precious. And that part, I think that you could, I'm sure Kiefer could argue with her and say, well, your ability is precious because not everybody has it. But she's not wrong in the sense that what the witches have access to is limited and is finite and is also impressive as well. Because again, the book that she was looking at was left in the house that's covered in the crystal. And he's like, oh, you really like magic, don't you? And he's like, why do you like it so much? I like that he does the stereotypical anime, like push the glasses up. But why? So curious. So she says, when I was little, I went to a festival at the castle. So the castle must not be far away because, you know, to go there in a day with her and her mom must not have been, you know, a far away jaunt, but just enough. And so we see her as a little kid. She looks like maybe she was 6 or 7. I'll never escape those numbers, y'all. As a teacher, I'm not escaping those numbers. Not now, not ever. She looks like she's about 7. And now she looks like she's about 12. So maybe this is 4 or 5 years ago. Could have been less, could have been more. Maybe we'll find out later on. I met a witch wearing a mask. So we get our chance. Again, there's the lunar moth. So the lunar moth, the witch's hat signifies that it's a witch there, which is interesting. But the witch's hat does not look exactly like Kiefer's. So we have to think, do all witches have different, are the hats all the same pointy hats, but they just get stylized? Like one's going to look like Mickey Mouse and Fantasia, one's going to look different. Or is this a fraud that just happened to have access to a bunch of witches' books? We've got to consider that. Was this an actual witch? The moment that we heard, again, we see the lunar moth flitting around and the lunar moth like flies beside her and she sees it. That to me is like a little sign. Maybe the lunar moth is a familiar. Maybe the lunar moth is like what the witch can transform into. I don't know. We have this creepy little like creek going into the drain. There's a lot of interesting things going on in this scene. The light shining upon the witch's hat. And it has this like Ghibli-esque mask that's giving me Princess Mononoke vibes to it. The fact that the light is shining on the witch's hat, which is great symbolism to point out that it is a witch. But we don't see their face, so can we know if they're truly a witch? Maybe they stole the hat. Maybe they stole the belongings. Who knows? But she finds them in the drain, which again is also suspicious because if they're a real witch and they have access to things that could grant them all sorts of wealth and things like that, then why are they in the ditch? Why are they in this dark, damp place beneath the castle, hiding out and luring kids in like Pennywise? Why is that happening? But yeah, she goes down and says, "You there?" Yeah, okay, so here is our witch. The moment I heard the voice, I didn't want to assume, because there are voice actresses that play, you know, female and male characters using their voice that have deeper voices. So I don't want to, like, you know, misgender a character based on it. However, just looking at their build and everything, I'm like, I feel like this could be a man. And listen up, y'all. If you don't know Romania, I don't want you to tell me. I want you to keep it a secret. I want you to sit on your hands. I want you to put your fists in your mouth. I want you to get your popcorn out. I want you to eat it very slowly. But if you've watched my channel, you know that Romania is a huge fan of BL. I love me some BL. I eat it up. I gobble it up. It's bread and butter to me. If this character that is this witch, because throughout the rest of the episode, when Kiefer was trying to figure out, being like, well, where did they get the book from? Whose the book is it? I feel like Kiefer suspects it's this witch. If this witch is a man, and if them and Kiefer has history, and if they are meant to be paired up, I'm going to fangirl so hard you will not believe how much I'm going to fangirl. And I'm getting really excited about that because I think that's where it's going. We'll see. But I'm like, But yeah, the feathers, it looks very Princess Mononoke. There's like this duality of the two things hanging down, the big eye, like the third eye, seeing all. There's also 3 books and 3 wands, 3 pins. The question is, who has the other 2? Would you like to buy a magic picture book? A magic picture book. That's a weird thing to phrase. I'm like, so then in my mind goes, okay, well, why in hindsight now is this witch giving out the books? Because clearly they are dangerous. Where did they get them from? Why do they have 3? Did they steal them? Were they given them? I doubt they were given them. So did they steal them? Did they hurt another witch to get them? And then the question is, why? Why give them out? Are they trying to sow anarchy by giving these books out to random people and the devices? Are they doing it just to get rid of it? But did they steal these pins and books and they're like, crap, I got to get rid of it before somebody catches me. And so they're just giving them out to random people to like lose the trail? Or another possibility, because Kiefer seems to have a very definitive, only certain people use magic. We have to keep everything a secret. And he was very willing to just erase this girl's memories to have that accomplished. And memory erasing is like one of my least favorite tropes in fiction, because I feel memories are so precious. And I've known people who've had Alzheimer's and dementia. And I'm like, I know what it looks like for people to lose those memories. And it is one of the most heartbreaking things you could ever witness as a human being with another human being. So knowing that, I'm just like, the idea of just erasing people's memories in fiction makes me just like, I'm like, no, that's horrifying and heartbreaking. So, and Kiefer was going to do it. He was not going to hesitate. The only reason he didn't erase her memories is because he wants to catch up to them and see if they gave her the book and see them again. And I'm like, okay, so that's literally the only reason. Now, do I think as the story goes on and Coco and Kiefer get to know each other and develop a relationship, he's not going to want to erase her memories anymore? Yeah, I'm hoping that that's the case. We're assuming. But he was very much going to do it. Not because, the only reason he didn't do it wasn't because not because she pleaded because of her mom, he didn't care. Not because she begged to be a witch, he didn't care. It was just because of a self-serving agenda that he wants to find the person that gave her the book. And to do that, he needs to keep her around and she has to have her memories. So that's interesting. But that's the view he has about magic and its secrecy. I wonder, to create the most angst possible with our potential BL ship that we don't know yet is a ship. But I'm wondering if this witch, if they believe that magic should be accessible to anyone and anyone should be able to use magic and it shouldn't be a secret thing. So they were going to give out the pins, give out the books in attempts to have that started. Or if they hate magic and they want it to be eradicated or it to be revealed of how the trick is done, what's behind the curtain. And so they're trying to accomplish it through that. I don't know. We don't exactly know how this works, but we're going to find out as we go. So she's like, magic? I love picture book, but what's magic? So she didn't even know what magic was until now. Magic is a miracle that makes this world vibrant. I love the I and there. So magic, a miracle to make this world vibrant. I feel like, again, Keyfree tries to keep it secret because I believe Keyfree is afraid of the dangers that can be caused by it. Whereas this witch wants magic to be experienced because of how amazing it is. Maybe Keyfree has a more pessimistic view about magic and this witch has a more optimistic view about it. That'd be interesting. And then, yes, a Pegasus carriage that soars through the vast sky. Everlasting spring that preserves crystal clear waters. Again, I feel as if they've been to where Coco lives before. Even the cobblestone beneath your feet. Yep. Lighting up as you walk. It's all magic. And of course, that gets her like attention. She's like, oh my gosh, amazing. Which maybe this witch believes that magic is everywhere and we should have access to it. Maybe. And she's like, oh, I like magic. Again, I'm getting such vibes from this witch. They seem dark and brooding, but then they're optimistic, which is kind of the opposite of Keyfree. I mean, just, Okay, yep. We'll see. Like, it comes with a free wand, too. Like, just giving these things away, like, to a little kid, knowing how dangerous it was, that's crazy. And then she takes it. Because a free wand. She's like, did you buy that? You said you wanted the roasted strawberries. When I followed a butterfly, there was a person with a pointed hat. She's like, It's a magical picture book with a wand. Now, I wonder too, because the mom, if it was an actual witch, now the mom is part of society that believes that you have to be born with magical abilities to be a witch. So that would make sense why the mom would be like, well, just because you have this book and wand, it's just a witch scammed you out of some money. Doesn't make you a witch, but they scammed you out of some money. So, okay, you didn't get the strawberries. You just got, honestly, roasted strawberries sound weird. I don't know if I would like roasted strawberries. The idea of like burnt fruit is weird. So girl got a better deal. Girl got a much better deal. That also begs the question of if the witch took the money, did they steal the magical items just to sell them for money? Because they, maybe. That also begs the question, did the witch selling the items even know what they had was magic? Maybe they didn't and they were just trying to make money and they're like, this is my only way, but maybe they want to be a witch. I don't know. The witch hat that they wore looked different than Keyfree's and a little bit more like put together, so we'll see. And the mom's like, okay, well, we'll just head home. So, I mean, who knows, in this world there might be a lot of like witch merchandise sold, I'm gonna be a witch that makes our world vibrant. And the mom's like, you can't do that because you have to be born with powers. Ordinary people don't have what it takes to be a witch. And you know what? Some people might think that the mom is being harsh by telling Coco that, but I kind of appreciate the mom for being honest and not like coddling her kid and letting her believe something that she in her mind knows isn't true. Even though we learn later on, no, she actually does have the power and the ability to with the tools that she has. But I kind of like that. When I was, one of the big defining moments in my childhood was that my 5th grade English teacher had us write a narrative about what we wanted to be when we grew up. And I wanted to be a teacher. Here we are. So I just wrote about being a teacher. And I remember one of my classmates said they wanted to be an MLB baseball player. And my English teacher, she was very blunt. She's like, well, that's a great dream. You can play baseball and you can have fun and you can get a scholarship and go to school. She's like, but there's not a big chance you're going to be an MLB baseball player. And he was really devastated at the time. And a lot of people were mad because they said she was being harsh. But then when we had our class reunion, he's like, I kind of, she made me realize that I needed like a backup plan. And now he's doing what the backup plan was. So it sounds harsh, but sometimes kids need to know the reality of the world that they live in and not, be disillusioned. Because she's like, I could use magic, see the ground sparkling. And she's like, if it shines the whole way home, then sure. And then what a brutal twist, because the mom knows when the sun sets and it's dark out, her steps aren't going to shine anymore. And it's like, oh. I mean, you could say she's cruel, but I do appreciate that she was being honest for her kid. She didn't want to lead her kid on and then have them grow up thinking this thing that the mom believes isn't going to happen, could happen, and then be crushed as a teenager. She's like, let's just do reality now. But regardless, she's like, since then, I've grown fond of watching magic. So then the carriage interrupts the story. Because, what was he about to ask? Kiefer was like, he's like, could you tell me a little bit more? I feel like Kiefer was like, could you tell me a little bit more about that witch that gave you the book? Could you tell me a little bit more about the book you were given? Something about the story got Kiefer's attention where he was like, wait a minute. So has Kiefer been dealing with this other witch giving out magical items and trying to teach the people about being a witch without revealing the secrets officially? Maybe Kiefer is like on the lookout for them. There's so much. There's so much. But anyway, so we have the kids. The kids knocked the carriage over somehow. I honestly thought that the kid with the black hair, I thought that it was going to be revealed that he was a witch before he found out that the witch's powers are the tools and not powers themselves. I thought for a second that we were going to find out that the kid with the black hair had the inborn ability to be a witch and that the carriage getting knocked over was their abilities manifesting. That's where I thought it was going. And that Coco would be like jealous that one of her friends like has this ability and she doesn't, but we did not go that route at all. And I'm not mad about it. So he's like, I could fix your carriage because, and he pulls out the hat, and then immediately Coco realizes my name is Kiefer and I am a witch. I like the little like ribbon on the end of it. Kiefer, my dude. Kiefer, my dude, this scrawny, tall man. I'm going to reserve judgments for now, but y'all, lots of things. Love the design. Love all of it. Makes him look like a bird. Totally here for it. But and they're like, oh my God, you can fix our carriage. You're a lifesaver, Mr. Witch. I love that being a witch is, one thing I love too, is that being a witch is not something that's ascribed to a certain sex. It can be men, women, non-binary, regents, whatever. Because normally in traditional fiction, being a witch is a role that is reserved for only women or only female presenting individuals. And it also is usually tied to something evil. And as we find out in this episode, there are spells that are tied to things that are evil, but not all of them. Like the spell on the wheel to keep it moving is not an evil spell. The spell that's forbidden magic that had a giant evil dragon, underneath it, yes. But I like the idea that being a witch is something that's seen as a net positive in this world rather than an evil like we see in other pieces of fiction. And it's not something just reserved for women either. So she lets him use the workshop because she's like, this is my chance to see a real witch. I also like this book cover, all the different branches like going out. Very interesting. This might be my chance to see this animation moment. I'm going to try to show it on the screen if it'll let me, to see the moment of a spell being cast. That's so good. Love that. Yep, love that. But of course, Kiefer's not going to let her see it because no one can look while I'm casting the spell, because he's not casting a spell. He's using the tools and the ink to make the magic. So it's all over the world, which is the only ones who know the secret. Yeah, the secret organization, right? So her friends try to see what's going on, but of course they can't get in. And then by happenstance, she looks up and remembers after getting caught up in the curtain that she left the hatch open at the top, and she goes down. And I love this part here where she's looking through the slots and she's trying to decide whether or not she looks or not. It's like this is the forbidden knowledge. This is the temptation of all temptations. This is the snake offering the apple to Eve, saying, "Here, look." She has and I love that it's represented through light, because in anime and in other modes of fiction, light is often represented as a symbol of knowledge. It's in Attack on Titan, it's in Orb on the Movements of the Earth, it's in so many other anime where characters are exposed to light and they're exposed to truths. And in this moment, she sees the light from the spell being cast in the room, and that's her chance to see the knowledge and truth of what makes the witches witches. And she ends up succumbing to that temptation. If she just hadn't have looked, the story wouldn't have happened. It's like if Coco, it's like you have the book of the plot, and then it's like if Coco hadn't looked through the slots. That. But she has the book. And honestly, she would have spent the rest of her life wanting to be a witch and holding on to that book. But yeah, okay, so you can see where the magic has rubbed off of the wheel, and he draws to like make it go back. And it's like he's drawing it with a pen. Again, the animation, gorgeous, stunning. It's not something you cast. Like, it's so pretty. It's something that you draw. And she's like, that means that the wand that I have isn't a wand. It's a pen. And the little end of it is ink in it. So yeah, I love the humor when she goes back. She's like, thank you for doing your work. Like, she had to run back and scramble. And then he left. It just showed him walking away. I'm sure that we'll get to him being nagged. And then the mom says, I thought you'd say you'd want to go with that witch. I was very curious at this point in the story, because obviously Coco's our main character. And so is Keyfree. Like, they've established themselves as protagonists. So I was like, well, how are we going to get the ball rolling? Because the mom being like, oh, I thought you'd go with him and want to leave home. And then she establishes that the dad has died and the mom would be all alone if she left. And Coco was like, oh, I'm never leaving you. And I was like, okay, well, that's very sweet, this relationship between the two of them. But then how are we going to establish that she's going to go off? At least the mom is trapped in this quartz and probably will not know how much time has passed, you know, unless it's like Attack on Titan and she does. But, or unless somebody like gets the spell to go away and then they kind of hold her hostage. I don't know how that's going to go. But for now, she's just trapped there. She's like, I won't leave you by yourself. And yes, Coco is a very sweet girl. So anyway, I love that they get ready for bed and everything. They have their meal. It's really nice. Everything is perfect. And then when she says goodnight to her mom, and she's like, the mom is about to say something and does that thing that every anime does where the character is about to say something and then she's like, never mind, I'll tell you later. I'm like, no, that's a sign something bad's going to happen, because what that is setting up, again, perfect pilot, what that is setting up is that whatever the mom was going to say, which I assume is that, you know, you don't have to be a witch to be magical. You don't have to be a witch to make the world more vibrant. You're already doing that. You know, the lessons of the story. I feel like the mom was about to tell her that, and then she's like, never mind, I'll tell you later. And so when we get to the end of this story, when everything comes full circle and Coco has realized this, the mom's going to reiterate it, and it's going to be this heartfelt moment. Maybe, possibly. We'll see if it ever goes that way. But yeah, so she's like, good night, and then goes in there and gets the book. And she's like, no. She realizes that it's a pen. I can't believe she had all that time and finally realized what it was. Yep. She's like, the patterns drawn are those of spells. It was the pen itself as a magic wand. And it has the ink that comes off as well. That's so insane. Just the design of it. Oh, it's so good. She's like, I'm sorry, Mom. I won't go anywhere, but I just have to try it. That's, it's like the moment she started, I'm like, yeah, but once you start drawing those magic circles, you know that it's gonna snowball into something else. You can't just stop. Once that curiosity is unleashed, it can either fizzle out or it can just spiral, right? Meanwhile, I love the transition as she's practicing with the pen. What would happen if she ran out of the ink? I guess, you know, we might find that out eventually. But I like that she does a lot of trial and errors. I like that it's not something that immediately works. She doesn't immediately figure out the magic. She does lots of trial and errors on the paper to see what happens. And I think it's also important that when you draw, like you can see right there, the tiny little speck, and right there where she didn't quite get the line to complete, and it didn't work. You know? So I like the fact that you have to draw a complete circle. You have to finish the circle in order for it to be effective. She's like, nothing's happening. And that's when it completes. And, oh, yes! So that begs the question of, where did this all come from? Where did the magic ink come from? Does it matter what paper? It doesn't matter what paper you use it on, because he used it on the wheel of the carriage. So where did the magic ink come from? Is it the pen that is also important, or is it just the ink? Will any old quill do, or is it just that specific type of pen? Lots of questions that we need to have answered. But the animation here, flawless. Absolutely flawless. She's like, I used real magic. It is something that you draw. And she's like, oh, just one more. And I'm like, it's never just one more. Meanwhile, we have Kiefer, and he's like holding down the paper with the rocks, and it's made the little flame. That's super cute. Very effective. And he's just sitting over there all bundled up, and he's like, a picture book. That shot's so good. So ready. He's like, it bugs me. That one shot of him, I'm like, oh, we gonna get some angst out of this man, I'm sure. And that's when he realizes, yep, could it be? Is it they? Yep. And then she does the fire spell and is like, whoop, that's not good. I was waiting for her to catch the entire cottage on fire. I thought that that's what was going to happen. But she's made all of these different spells, getting the hang of it. The bigger ones are stronger than the smaller ones. And the neatly drawn ones last longer than the sloppy ones. So yeah, so that's why he was so precise, because he wanted to make sure it would last on the wagon wheel. And again, knowing this, that you can understand why, if you were a witch, you could make a very lucrative business out of doing that. It's kind of like mages in other stories, where mages would go around in fantasy stories and would use their magic to like do odd jobs and tasks and get paid for them. So if you had access to the tools and knew the way to draw the spells and how to do it precisely, and you practiced to the point where you were very precise, then yeah, you could go out and do lots of jobs and make lots of money, which again begs the question, why was the one witch giving that away? Because if you think about it, that also begs the question, was the witch giving out the books, had they been disenfranchised by witches and they were trying to just be like, well, fine, I'm just going to take out the system? Because if only a certain number of people have access to the resources, then they can create a business. And if they have no competition, they can set the price to whatever they want, and people will pay it because they want that service. But once everybody gets access to the service and it's not specialized anymore, it's going to fall apart. The system, it's not going to, on the one hand, yes, everybody can do magic. On the other hand, those witches that had that lucrative gain is going to be completely gone. Because if I can do magic and fix my wagon wheel, why do I have to hire a witch? So is the witch that gave Coco the book trying to deconstruct the capitalist system of witches? I don't know. We're going to find out. I guess we'll see. She's like, drawing big and neat is hard. Yes, that's probably going to be something that Kiefer is going to teach her. He made it look so easy. Because he's practiced. Now, this spell here, the moment I saw this dragon underneath it, I was like, oh no, let's not do that. That seems like a bad spell. That seems like and this spell seems very complicated. What if we don't do that? That seems a little bit dangerous. If I draw it neatly by tracing over the example. The setup of this, when Kiefer comes behind her and grabs her, is so well done. Eye candy. Eye candy. Like him like racing towards her like a shadow. Yes, please. Indeed. Right as she finishes it. Yep. There. And then the fact that he like reaches to grab her. This animated scene is so freaking good. And then the ink falls and spills everywhere. So the ink is gone. No more ink. But the spell activates and he like rushes to get her out of there. Oh my gosh. Oh, and the fact that he just like goes over has on the shoes drawn where he can like lift off when he puts them together. Oh my gosh. Amazing. Everything about this scene is absolutely gorgeous. So freaking gorgeous. And yeah, and they shoot up in the air. And that's when he asks her and says, you drew magic, didn't you? He seems very mad about it. You drew magic. What kind of spell did you draw? So again, also the concept of becoming a witch. It's like, once you're part of this magic organization that knows the secret, you don't stop being a witch that knows the magic secret of the organization, because I'm assuming that there are some higher up witches that I'm assuming the process of becoming a witch is being chosen, and it's like a secret society where you are chosen to be a witch, or like Coco, you fall into a circumstance where you are now trapped within the system, and it's Hotel California. You can't leave. Once you're a witch, or your memories have to be erased. So I have all of the questions about Keyfree, all the questions about the witch society, all of this, but he's just like, what kind of spell did you draw? And she's like, I just traced the pattern in the picture book. And that's when he's like, well, shit, something bad's about to happen. And yeah, the mom gets caught up in it. That sucks. Nope. And yeah, he's like, well, this is not good. He's like, this is forbidden magic. Which begs the question, why a book with forbidden magic? Where did the forbidden magic book come from? Why is it there? And then she's trying to get to her mom, and I'm glad that he doesn't let go. He's like, it is a spell and an evil one. So again, why these spells? Who makes them? Where do they come from? I love that he saves her to keep her from like getting caught up in the crystals as well. I wonder how far it expanded. And she's like, I didn't know. And he's like, of course you didn't. It was kept a secret so nothing like this would happen. But I love this. The way that this is animated, the way that the light and shadows are used. This entire episode has been artistry. And this is just like the cherry on top. A special ink and casting set. That's all anyone needs to use magic. It's the one great rule of witches. You just need to have the tools and have the ability. He's like, and now you found out I have to erase your memories. Which begs the question, how many memories has he erased? How many people has he done the same to? How often has that happened? And she's like, no. She's like, then I'll forget my mom. If I forget everything, how will I save her? And he's like, well, that's too bad. And I was like, oh no! Keyfree is very stoic and by the rules. And I feel like the other witch is not by the rules. She's like, I don't remember what kind of magic I drew. And if I forget that, then my mom, and he's like, the picture book. And then we see that damn lunar moth. That's right. If the picture book belonged to them, in like all caps, I'll be losing track of their whereabouts. So Keyfree's been looking for them. I have so many thoughts. Okay, yep. I'll have no way to trace them if I erase her memory. So this is a personal agenda. Do you remember the book by heart? And she's like, well, yes. And which page you copied. She's reminding me of a character from Orb on the Movements of the Earth, which I'm totally for. If we find the same book, we can find the casting seal that I drew. So yeah, we see I like the color spotted the 3 books, the 3 pins. So there's 2 more out there somewhere. Yep. There's still a chance. Oh. She's like, please don't erase my memories. I'll do anything to save my mom. I really like this idea of it's this mentor figure and the young child dynamic, which is really interesting, especially because, normally when you have mentor figures like Keyfree, in other stories, they like volunteer to be the mentor or they actively seek out the protagonist if it's like a chosen one narrative or something like that. With this story, he did not want to be her mentor. He was just wanting to erase her memories and go on. But because he has this agenda of wanting to find this other witch, he's like, hell, I got to keep you around, kid, and take you on as a apprentice witch. And it's like, okay. She's like, I can. He's like, are you willing to learn? And that's the thing. I'm like, he said he had to erase her memories, but he caved awfully quickly, once he decided and was like, well, I guess I can take you on as a witch. Once you know the truth, it cannot be undone. You must become one who knows the secret. I'm like, well, it could be undone if you erased her memories, but you weren't about to do that now, were you? Keyfree comes across as stoic and cold, in that moment, but then he reveals he probably has a really sweet heart underneath. Because he says there, the only way to have you keep your memories is if you become a witch. From now on, you are going to become a witch. Which, lucky for Kefri, is exactly what she's always wanted. So, there we go. And we have the book, and there's the little moth butterfly in there. I guess it is a butterfly. It looks kind of like a lunar moth to me. And then, yes. And then episode 2 is going to be called The School of the Grassland. I'm so excited! And I have talked for an hour about this episode, and it was so worth it. Oh my gosh, if you are still here, I am so freaking excited. Everything about that pilot was executed perfectly. Setup of our characters, setup of the world building, the witching world. Many questions still yet to be answered, but we're very curious about it. Setting up of a potential antagonist, the witch that gave the book out is the antagonist, of course, that Kefri, our other protagonist, is looking for and wants to find their whereabouts for reasons. And then setting up Coco getting trained to be a witch, setting up the stakes. They need to get the book back, find the other witch so that she can save her mom. I'm so excited. I'm so excited! So, yes, we are going to get into episode 2 next Sunday. So if you are watching this on YouTube and you're not on my Patreon, you could be watching episode 2 on Patreon right now, but that's up to you. But if you do not have time or money to join my Patreon, then I will be back here next Sunday with episode 2, and we'll just go from there. So, I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know down below what you thought. Please subscribe to the channel if you want to see Witch Hat Atelier in weeks to come. But otherwise, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and I will see you all again next Sunday as we watch episode 2 of Witch Hat Atelier. And I'll see you then. Bye!